The title of the presentation is Lord Murugan as the Spiritual Guru. My Guru, Sivaya Subramanya Swami, introduces Lord Murugan in Sloka 24 of his book, Dancing with Shiva. Lord Kartikeya, Murugan, first Guru and Palladian master of Kundalini Yoga, was born of God Shiva's mind. His dynamic power awakens spiritual cognition to propel souls onward in their evolution to Shiva's feet. The Pleiades is a cluster of stars in the Taurus constellation, 6 of which are now visible from Earth and form a very small dipper. This group of stars is known in Sanskrit as Kritika, an important nakshatra for Lord Kartikeya, and believed to be this deity's place of origin before he came to the star system of Earth. Our lexicon gives the literal meaning of guru as the weighty one, indicating an authority of great knowledge or skill. Guru is a term used to describe a teacher or guide in any subject, such as music, dance, sculpture, but especially religion. For clarity, the term is often preceded by a qualifying prefix, hence terms such as kulaguru, family teacher, vinaguru, vina teacher, and satguru, spiritual preceptor. According to the Advaita Upanishad, guru means dispeller, gu, of darkness, ru. There are 5 verses in the Advaita Upanishad that describe the Guru. We will look at the first 3. A truly competent teacher is well versed in the Vedas, a devotee of God, free from jealousy, pure, a knower of yoga, and intent on yoga, always having the nature of yoga. He who is equipped with devotion to his own teacher, who is especially a knower of the self. He who possesses these virtues is designated as a guru. The syllable gu signifies darkness. The syllable ru, the destroyer of that darkness. By reason of the ability to destroy darkness, he is called a guru. Before looking in depth at how Lord Murugan functions as a spiritual guru, I wanted to share some thoughts on faith, visions of Murugan, and temple worship. Faith is central to all the world's religions. Webster's dictionary defines religious faith as unquestioning belief in God and religious tenets that does not require proof or evidence. The Hindu view of faith is somewhat different. It is more than hope, more than belief. This is because in Hinduism, faith is not a static state. Rather, it is a constantly deepening through personal experience and spiritual growth. The spiritual truths of Sanatana Dharma, initially accepted without proof, are ultimately proved through personal experience. My Guru presents this deeper aspect of faith by citing an old saying favored by pragmatic intellectuals. Seeing is believing. And then states that a more profound adage is, believing is seeing. He goes on to explain that today's scientists and educators often turn their perceptions off by seeing with their 2 eyes and passing judgments based on what they currently believe. The rishis of the past and the rishis of the now and those yet to come also are seers. Their seeing is not with the 2 eyes, it is with the 3rd eye, the eye of the soul. He observed the intellect in its capacity to contain truth is a very limited tool, while faith is a very broad, accommodating, and embracing faculty. The mystery of life and beyond life of God is really better understood through faith than through intellectual reasoning. In this regard, many of the great saints and sages of Hinduism have had visions of Lord Murugan and shared them with their devotees, thus strengthening the devotees' faith and understanding of these divine beings. In ancient times, such great saints as Arunagirinathar had visions of Lord Murugan and wrote of his experiences in his devotional poems, such as in Kandar Anubhuti. Swami Shivananda, Divine Life Society founder, wrote an excellent description of this work. The term Kandar Anubhuti is derived from Kandar and Anubhuti. Kandar in Tamil is skanda in Sanskrit. Anubhuti means becoming one with or experience. Hence, Kandar Anubhuti means to become one with skanda and denotes God experience. This is a work sung by Saint Arunagirinathar as a result of his God experience, or Kandar Anubhuti, which also directs others to that experience. It is the experience of the saint given expression to in such powerful words that when it is repeated by others, it is capable of bringing that same experience to them in due course. Such is the glory of the work. A sample verse reads, Lord Murugan, wielder of the veil, whose form shines like the crimson sky, on that day you revealed to me the unique divine experience. Having it and experiencing it is the only way to understand it. Is it something to talk about? How can it be told to someone else? In modern times, Gurudeva has shared some of his mystical perspectives and experiences of Lord Murugan in his writings and stories. One story has to do with the founding of the Kadavul Hindu temple in Hawaii in 1973. A large Nataraja bronze had recently arrived from India, and Gurudeva was wondering where in the building to place it. That night in a vision, Lord Murugan came and struck his veil 3 times on the spot where the Nataraja deity was to be placed. We placed the Nataraja there the next day and worship began. We have arranged group pilgrimages to India and Sri Lanka since 1969, and some pilgrims on various programs had life-changing visions of Lord Murugan, as well as other deities. Such visions, born of the intensity of pilgrimage and inner striving, would often come in the form of the stone or bronze murti moving and smiling at them, or turning into an animated human-like figure. Some devotees, with their eyes closed, inwardly saw the deity's face, as real as any living being. Knowing that the gods are real beings and that the purpose of going to the temple is to experience their blessings is what transforms the temple from a cultural hall to a truly sacred place. When giving talks in temples over the years, Gurudeva often explained that the stone or metal deity images enshrined in the temple are not mere symbols of God and the gods. They are not mere inert idols, but the forms through which divine love, power, and blessings flood forth from the inner world of the gods into this physical world. My Guru continues, we may liken this mystery to our ability to communicate with others through the telephone. We do not talk to the telephone. Rather, we use the telephone as a means of communication with another person who is perhaps thousands of miles away. Without the telephone, we could not converse across such distances. And without the sanctified murti in the temple or shrine, we cannot easily commune with the deity. Both are instruments of communication. As we progress in our worship, we begin to adore the image as the deity's physical body, for we know that he is actually present and conscious in it during puja, aware of our thoughts and feelings, and even sensing the pujari's gentle touch on the metal or stone. Though occasionally a devotee may have a vision of the deity, the more common way we experience him is as uplifting, peaceful, divine energy or shakti that radiates out from the image. These blessings of the deity are called sanidhyam and refer to the radiance and blessed presence of shakti in and around the temple. In some of Gurudeva's writings, he also refers to these blessings as the darshan of the deity. It is easiest to feel these blessings at the high point of the puja when the flame is held high and the bells ring the loudest. Here is an analogy with experiencing the sun. If we go outside on a sunny day and close our eyes, we can feel the sun's rays on our skin without seeing the sun in the sky, and in that way experience the sun. This is similar to what happens in the temple. Our inner or spiritual eye, the third eye, is not open, so we don't see the deity. However, we can feel in our nervous system the spiritual energy that radiates out from the murti, and in that way experience the deity. Gurudeva shares an insightful description of this process in his book, Loving Ganesha. What is this Shakti? You may be wondering. It is being in the presence of divinity. All holy men and women emanate all of these Shaktis, and you can too, some stronger than others. Shakti is divine radiation from the third world, causal plane, through the second world, astral plane, into the first, physical plane. The astral body is in the second world and lives inside the physical body. It is through the astral body that Shakti is felt. Let's return now to the topic of Lord Murugan as Guru. Did you notice in Gurudeva's quote that he referred to Murugan as the first Guru? Murugan's role as the first Guru is described in a Puranic story in which Lord Shiva asked him whether he himself knew the meaning of the primordial pranava Om. Lord Murugan said that he knew the meaning of Om and can expound it to the latter only if he accepted him as Guru and listened to the exposition as a devoted disciple. As Lord Shiva acceded to the request of Lord Murugan and heard the exposition of Om as a disciple, the place came to be known as Swamimalai and the presiding deity as Swaminathan. In saying that the Guru dispels darkness, what exactly does darkness refer to? To begin answering this question, let's examine a core Hindu belief, man's innate divinity. Gurudeva articulated it beautifully. Deep inside, we are perfect this very moment, and we have only to discover and live up to this perfection to be whole. We have taken birth in a physical body to grow and evolve into our divine potential. We are inwardly already one with God. Our religion contains the knowledge of how to realize this oneness and not create unwanted experiences along the way. An analogy will illustrate this idea. Imagine a pond of water with large gold nuggets at the bottom. If the surface of the pond has ripples due to wind, or if the water is clouded by mud or pollution, we cannot see the gold nuggets from above. The ripples on the surface of the pond represent an active intellectual mind. The water's cloudiness represents subconscious impurities, which is what darkness refers to. And the nuggets represent our soul nature. In order to experience our soul nature and its oneness with God, our intellect must be quiet and our mind must be pure. We also need to be a sensitive and humble observer. An entry in the Encyclopedia of Hinduism, India Heritage Research Foundation, tells us, Shuddhi means purification, chitta is mind. Purification of the mind, chitta shuddhi, may be called the essence of all spiritual endeavors. Attending pujas at a temple purifies the mind through the exchange of prana, an aspect of puja and homa that is not often discussed. Puja is a process of giving prana to the deity through offerings of fruit, cooked foods, water, incense, fragrant flowers, and milk. Then, during the culminating arati, the deity and his helpers or devas reflect back this prana into the aura of each devotee, purifying it of subconscious congestions. The devotee so blessed leaves feeling uplifted and relieved of mental burdens. After an elaborate homa performed in our Hawaii temple by his 3 priests, Jayendrapuri Mahaswamiji of Kailas Ashram in Bengaluru, India, explained that Agni, the messenger god of fire, conveys the offerings in a purified form to the deity, who then uses the prana to bless those present. The effect of such blessings can be life-altering, as Gurudeva observed. Darshan coming from the temples of our gods can change the patterns of karma dating back many past lives, clearing and clarifying conditions that were created hundreds of years ago and are but seeds now, waiting to manifest in the future. Through the grace of the gods, those seeds can be removed if the manifestation in the future would not enhance the evolution of the soul. In addition to tending pujas and homas, another approach to removing the darkness in the subconscious mind is the performance of tapas. Being a more intense practice, it can remove darkness more quickly. Tiruvalluvar's Tirukural provides this insight. As the intense fire of the furnace refines gold to brilliance, so does the burning suffering of austerity purify the soul to resplendence. This verse may bring to mind images of yogis subsisting on nettle soup in a remote Himalayan cave or bathing in freezing waters. Though tapas does embrace such intense practices, it also includes easier ones that can be done by anyone. Performing penance is a common form of tapas. This is done through such acts as 108 prostrations before the deity in the temple, walking prostrations around the temple, and kavadi, a penance offered to Lord Murugan, Kartikeya. The blessings or shakti of Lord Murugan is a particularly powerful force. Gurudeva elaborates on this idea. When we perform penance and beseech his blessings, this merciful God hurls his veil into the astral plane, piercing discordant sounds, colors, and shapes, removing the mind's darkness. The worship of Lord Murugan during the Thai Pusam festival is the traditional time for performing penance to atone for misdeeds. Carrying kavadi and other forms of penance should never be done for the purpose of impressing others. Rather, it should be done having in mind specific misdeeds you are atoning for, as well as promising to Lord Murugan not to repeat them again. Turning to another aspect of Lord Murugan as spiritual guru, Hindu icons in our temples all have mystical symbolism. A common symbolism is to depict the god as male and the god's energy or shakti as his spouse. God is everywhere seen as the beloved divine couple. Philosophically, however, the caution is always made that God and God's energy are one. and the metaphor of the inseparable divine couple serves only to illustrate this oneness. In the case of Lord Murugan, his consorts are Valli and Devayani. Additionally, we have the veil as an important symbol. These three represent three distinct energies, powers or shaktis. Valli represents iccha shakti, the power of desire. Devayani represents kriya shakti, the power of action. The veil represents jnana shakti, the power of wisdom. Important insights into the soul's maturing process can be gained by looking at the three shaktis of Lord Murugan: the power of desire, the power of action, and the power of wisdom, which are also the three powers of the soul. We first have a desire, and when the desire becomes strong enough, we act. In young souls, the action may be ill-conceived, even against dharma. For example, a man wants a computer, so he steals one. Money is needed, so he robs a bank. The soul is often caught up in repeating a cycle of similar experiences, moving back and forth from desire to action, until the needed lesson is learned. In the case of the adharmic action of stealing, eventually he will learn the lesson that this is not the best way to acquire possessions. This learning is the jnana shakti, wisdom, causing his behavior to improve. This process also works for dharmic actions as well. We are helping out as a volunteer at the temple and teaching children's classes once a month. We like the feeling it gives us of helping others in a meaningful way and decide to help out every week and even participate in the meetings which plan out the classes. We are doing a selfless action, and the reaction it has on us is to feel more inner joy. Therefore, the jnana is to decide to do even more of it and thus feel more joyful. We have again improved our behavior. We can see in both of these examples how it is that the soul undergoes experiences in the world with desire leading to action, which eventually leads to wisdom and the improving of our behavior. This is the divine pattern through which our soul matures over many lifetimes, moving ever closer to God. Whether an action we have committed is dharmic or adharmic, the worship of Lord Murugan and the power of his veil of jnana shakti can help us understand the wisdom or lack of wisdom of our actions more quickly. This is fulfilling the idea in Gurudeva's beginning quote that Murugan's dynamic power awakens spiritual cognition to propel souls onward in their evolution to Shiva's feet. Let's look now more closely at the process of learning from our mistakes. For all of mankind, no matter where one is on the path, spiritual advancement comes from improving one's behavior. Said another way, it comes from learning from our mistakes. Unfortunately, this process is often inhibited by the idea that somehow we are not supposed to make mistakes, that mistakes are bad. Far too many children grow up being scolded for their mistakes by parents. Teachers ridicule students when they make mistakes. Supervisors yell at workers when they make a mistake. No wonder many adults feel terrible when they make a mistake. To spiritually benefit from our mistakes, we need a new attitude toward them. Gurudeva gives us a new and encouraging way of looking at our errors. He describes mistakes as wonderful opportunities to learn. He compared learning from life's experiences to progressing through the classes at a university. He proclaimed, Life is a series of experiences, one after another. Each experience can be looked at as a classroom in the big university of life, if we only approach it that way. Who is going to these classrooms? Who is the member of this university of life? It's not your instinctive mind. It's not your intellectual mind. It's the body of your soul, your superconscious self, that wonderful body of light. It's maturing under the stress and strain. Moving on, there were 4 progressive reactions that naturally ensue when one makes a mistake. A common first reaction to having made a mistake is to become upset, to become fretful or angry about it, or if it is a serious mistake, to become deeply burdened and even depressed. That is a normal first reaction, but if it is our only reaction, it is not enough for those seeking to advance themselves spiritually. To progress, we need to cope with the emotional reaction to the action and move on to the learning stage. Thus, a good second reaction to a mistake is to think clearly about what happened, why it occurred, and find a way to not repeat the mistake in the future. Perhaps we were not being careful enough, and simply resolving to be more circumspect next time will prevent the problem from recurring. Perhaps we lack some important knowledge, and now we have that knowledge, which we can simply resolve to use next time. Perhaps we created unintended consequences that caused significant problems to ourselves or others. Now that we are aware of the consequences, we certainly won't repeat the action. Those who are striving to live a spiritual life are self-reflective and learn quickly from their blunders. In fact, one way to tell a young soul from an old soul is to observe how quickly he cognizes his error and learns not to repeat the same mistake. The worship of Lord Murugan can be quite helpful in giving us the wisdom that helps us learn from a mistake quickly. The fewer times we make the mistake, the faster we are moving forward spiritually. We can go to the temple and pray to Lord Murugan to help us understand the pattern of desires and actions we are experiencing, and ask for his veil of wisdom to help us see clearly how to learn from this cycle of experiences, improve our behavior, and move forward on the spiritual path. A third remedy may be needed if our misstep involved other people. Perhaps we have hurt someone's feelings or created a strain between us. A direct apology can fix this if we know the other person well. If we are not close enough to the individual to be able to apologize, a generous act can often adjust the flow of feelings back into a harmonious condition. For example, hold a small dinner party and include him among the invited guests. A fourth remedy may be needed in cases of major misdeeds. For example, if we did something that was dishonest. Even if we resolve to not repeat the misdeed and apologize to those involved, we may still feel guilty about the transgression. By performing some form of penance, prayaschitta, we can rid ourselves of the burden of feeling bad about what we have done. Typical forms of penance are fasting, performing 108 prostrations before the deity, or doing walking prostrations up a sacred path or around the temple. These, of course, are too severe for younger children, but they can do simpler penances, such as skipping dessert one meal, or renouncing a favorite TV program one night. As mentioned before, to get the most benefit out of penance, we suggest that you have in mind specific misdeeds you regret having done, as well as promise Lord Murugan you will try your best not to repeat that misdeed again. Our next two topics are short ones. Are you searching for your Guru? If so, Gurudeva has this suggestion. He recommends you repeat the mantra Om Sarvanabhava 108 times daily, invoking Lord Muruga to bring the Guru forth in your life, who will train and initiate you. Muruga is the first Guru, the first Swami and renunciate. Worshipping him is the preparatory stage to receiving advanced training with a living spiritual Guru. Our advice is avoid gurus who promise instant results and favor those that ask you to practice for half an hour or more every day. This is the traditional approach to spiritual unfoldment. My Guru chose an insightful analogy for the process of spiritual unfoldment, which in Sanskrit is called Adhyatma Vikasa. He spoke about the lotus, how its seed starts in the pond's dark mud. Its roots give rise to a stem that reaches up through the water into the air. From the stem evolves a bud, tiny at first, which grows into a flower that slowly opens its exquisite petals to the sun, the central nectar and pollen, calling to the bees. The blossoming of the lotus flower cannot be rushed, and neither can our spiritual unfoldment. A second point the Advaya Taraka Upanishad makes about the Guru is that he always has the nature of yoga. For those who are fortunate enough to be practicing yoga under the direction of a living Guru, Lord Murugan plays a unique role. As you may recall, Gurudeva's opening quote on Lord Murugan described him as a master of Kundalini yoga. In other writings, Gurudeva elaborates on this idea. To attain even the permission to perform yoga, one must have the grace of Lord Ganesha and the grace of Lord Murugan. Lord Murugan is the god of the Kundalini, of the advanced yogic practices. Unfoldment all happens within the Kundalini and the chakras within our subtle bodies. Once a profound relationship is developed with Lord Murugan, then with the Guru's permission and guidance, true yoga may commence. Otherwise, no matter how long one sits in meditation, no matter how hard one tries, it is just sitting. It is just trying. There is no fire there, no shakti, no power, no change. It is the gods who control the fire, and at this stage help the devotee immensely, bringing him closer and closer to the supreme God, Shiva.